In the turbulent heart of 13th century Italy, where city-states fought bitterly for dominance and political alliances shifted like sand, one man's name became synonymous with terror: Ezzelino III Romano. Feared by nobles and peasants alike, chroniclers claimed he was the son of the devil, a ruler whose cruelty was so extreme that even in an age accustomed to bloodshed, his name inspired horror. Ezzelino was born in 1194 into the powerful da Romano family, lords of a stretch of territory in the Veneto region. From the start, his path was shaped by the volatile politics of medieval Italy. The peninsula was split between two bitter factions: the Guelphs, who supported the Pope, and the Ghibellines, who aligned with the Holy Roman Emperor. The da Romanos were staunch Ghibellines, and young Ezzelino grew up steeped in the ruthless pragmatism of political survival. From an early age, Ezzelino proved himself a shrewd and dangerous tactician. In his 20s, he forged an alliance with Emperor Frederick II, one of the most formidable rulers of the medieval world. This partnership granted Ezzelino military backing, and in return he became Frederick's enforcer in northern Italy, a role he carried out with brutal efficiency. By 1236, Ezzelino had seized control of Verona, a rich and strategically vital city. His rise to power was swift and merciless. Once in control, he began purging his enemies, not just political rivals, but anyone he suspected of disloyalty. Entire families were executed, their estates confiscated to enrich his coffers and reward his most loyal soldiers. Contemporary accounts describe the streets of Verona running red with blood in the early days of his rule. What set Ezzelino apart from other medieval warlords was not simply his willingness to kill, it was the scale and calculated cruelty of his violence. Prisoners of war were not ransomed but executed en masse. In one infamous episode, after capturing the fortress of Friola, he ordered more than 10,000 men, women, and children put to the sword. Survivors told of soldiers stacking bodies in grisly heaps, leaving them to rot as a warning to others. Religious authorities began to speak of him in apocalyptic terms. The Franciscan chronicler Salim ben de Adam wrote that Ezzelino was a monster without pity or shame, a man whose soul was steeped in wickedness. Some even claimed that his mother had been seduced by a demon, giving rise to the belief that Ezzelino was not entirely human. As his territories expanded to include Padua, Vicenza, and Treviso, Ezzelino instituted a reign of fear. Secret police rooted out dissent, and suspected traitors were subjected to elaborate public tortures. Eyes gouged out, tongues torn away, limbs amputated. These displays were not random acts of sadism. They were calculated political theatre, designed to cow the population into submission. In 1254, the tide began to turn. Pope Innocent IV, alarmed by Ezzelino's growing power and unchecked brutality, excommunicated him and declared a crusade, not against Muslims or heretics but against a fellow Christian ruler. The papal bull described Ezzelino as a tyrant more cruel than any Saracen, and urged all faithful Christians to take up arms against him. The following year, a coalition of forces from Lombardy, Ferrara and Mantua joined papal troops in an all-out assault on Ezzelino's domains. Yet the warlord remained as ruthless as ever. In retreat, he scorched the earth, burning fields and slaughtering civilians to deny resources to his enemies. Cities that surrendered were sometimes spared. Those that resisted were annihilated. His downfall came in 1259 at the Battle of Cassano d'Adda. Leading a desperate charge against vastly superior forces, Ezzelino was badly wounded. Captured by the enemy, he refused medical treatment, reportedly tearing bandages from his wounds and rejecting food. After a few days of agony, he died, still defiant to the last. But his death did not end his reign of terror in memory. In the years that followed, the da Romano lands were dismantled, and the cities he had once ruled rejoiced at their liberation. Chroniclers painted his rule in the darkest possible colours, ensuring that his reputation would live on as a cautionary tale. Ezzelino's name became a byword for tyranny in Italian folklore. Parents told their children stories of Ezzelino the Cruel, to frighten them into obedience. Poets and historians of the Renaissance used him as an example of the corrupting influence of absolute power. Even Dante Alighieri, in his Divine Comedy, placed Ezzelino among the violent damned in the river of boiling blood in hell. Modern historians have attempted to separate fact from legend. Some argue that his brutality, while real, was exaggerated by his political enemies after his death. Others contend that his atrocities were every bit as horrific as described, pointing to contemporary records of mass executions and confiscations. Whether demonized beyond the truth or not, Ezzelino clearly ruled through calculated fear, leaving a legacy that outlived him by centuries. Today, the ruins of castles and fortifications once commanded by Ezzelino still dot the Veneto countryside. Tourists visit without always knowing the history, that these stones once housed a ruler so feared that the Pope himself declared him an enemy of Christendom. The silence of these ruins belies the screams and terror that once echoed through them. The story of Ezzelino III da Romano stands as a grim reminder of how political ambition, unchecked power, and calculated cruelty can turn a man into a monster in the eyes of history. In the chaos of medieval Italy, he rose higher and fell harder than most, but his shadow lingers still, a ghost of tyranny in the chronicles of the past. Thank you for watching and for joining me as we revisited one of history's darkest crimes. If you found this story interesting, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Turn on notifications so you never miss a journey into the shadows of the past. Until next time, stay curious, stay safe, and remember, the past is never really gone.